I am the American dream. I'm exactly what all American dreams are. The have-nots who ended up having a little bit of something. I grew up in Hollis, Queens, right around 78, 79, when this new music called hip-hop was coming out. Run DMC, LL Cool J, Salt and Pepper, Tribe Called Quest. All these, music artists came out of the same exact area where the big drug dealers came out of. Where I grew up, I was told that we were all going to be dead or in jail by the age of 21. 6 friends that were released over the last 20 years for crimes that they didn't commit. The only reason I'm not a drug dealer is I just did the numbers in my head when I was a kid, and I said if a drug dealer makes $50,000 a year, well, 10 years is $500,000, right? But if out of 10 of those years, if 4 of them you're in jail, well, that's $300,000. And if out of the $300,000, you have to pay $100,000 in legal, that's, $200,000. And then we're not even talking about if you die. So I work for $30,000 a year and get medical and benefits. Simple as that. It's just math. I remember when my parents were getting divorced, I was in the 7th grade. My theory was if I act up, they're going to get back together. The nuns telling my mother, Damon just has to pass this one test. I'll graduate and go to 8th grade. So, of course, the night before that test, I did everything. I went out, I rode my bike, I hung out with my friends, I played basketball. I got a 0 on the test. Nuns called my mother and they said, you know what, we understand he's acting out and we're going to pass him. And she said, no, you're not. You're not going to pass him. He's going to repeat the 7th grade. And by the way, he's going to go to public school. And I said, no way in the world she's going to put her precious little child in a public school. They eat, they're young. They're crawling around on all 4s up there. No way in the world will you do that, right? We live in a neighborhood where some dangerous things happen. Crack is around. You know what this sick lady does? She goes and gets a 3rd job, hires a babysitter to watch me. And guess what I do? I end up being in that public school with a black eye because those kids were not nice. And I learned at that point that mommy will not save you. And that responsibility is all of yours. Because she said, Damon, I can't guarantee that I'll even be around the rest of your life. I had to go to school every single day for a year, knowing that my friends were in 8th grade. I was in 7th grade. Then when they went to high school, guess what? I was still in 8th grade. And it haunted me for many, many years, but it showed me the value of responsibility. That understanding came the moment that guy punched me in the eye. I understood at that point, oh, it's real. I'm pretty analytical, I think. And I look back over those years when I looked at that decision I consciously made to act out or be bad, and I thought there was going to be some kind of safety net underneath. I realized that life has no safety nets. You have to create your own. Growing up dyslexic, I never understood that it was a superpower. I didn't know I was dyslexic until my late 20s. I just knew that I had a challenge reading. So what would happen? If I read a book, I would either read it many, many times if I was fascinated with it, or I'd go out and if I could apply what the book said, I would go and do it and try it to make sure that I understood it correctly. And I think that as dyslexics, that's our superpower. My father was very difficult. He was very, very hard on me because I couldn't even spell my middle name sometimes. It was more like being embarrassed and things of that nature. I was very hard on my daughter, who I didn't recognize had dyslexia. She got expelled from school on purpose because the work was so hard. Why stumble reading a teleprompter instead of telling everybody I'm dyslexic? Well, what happens when you tell everybody you're dyslexic? They create it, they make it shorter, and they work with you. Well, I can not tell everybody I'm dyslexic, and then half the people are saying he's an idiot. Or I can feel like they're saying he's an idiot. And unfortunately, if you don't have a strong community around you, there are people out in the world who will say, I don't think you're stupid. Why don't you come on this corner and I'll show you how to make some money. I started Fubo in 1989. I almost went bankrupt 2 times when I had 0, and 1 time when I was worth $20 million. And we ran a factory in the middle of my house. We would sleep in sleeping bags next to the sewing machines because we put in there sewing machines, fabric, hire a bunch of seamstresses, I would go work at Red Lobster, a double shift. I'd come home, and then I'd start cutting up the shirts at night from about 12 o'clock at night to 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd wake back up at 6 o'clock in the morning and deliver shirts to stores up until noon and go back to Red Lobster. That was my schedule for 2 years. We lost all the money in the house because I was paying, for running a factory. I didn't have any financial intelligence. I was being choked by what we call in the industry, choked by the float. I run out of the money. I've turned my house into a factory. I'm not even a real manufacturer. But now I need more money to manufacture clothes. Well, now I'm late on the mortgage. They're about to take my mother's American dream, her home. My mother takes an ad in the newspaper. $1 million in orders need financing. I said, that is the stupidest idea I've ever heard. 33 people called that ad. Now, 30 of them were named Pookie, Laquita, Quack for short, Sal the sausage. 45% interest, live in their attic for collateral, pictures of loved ones in case I got lost. But three people were real. One of them was the $250 billion privately held conglomerate that makes everything from semiconductors to cell phones. And in '98, I'm worth $20 million. Many of my hardships were due to just not knowing how money works, taxes and various other things. I started asking my accountants things, asking my brokers things, and I started getting more and more information. And I started to understand financial intelligence, and just in time, because then I get called to go on a show called Shark Tank, where it was because of my ability to understand this and break things down in a very soluble way. I always say, don't take yourself too serious, because nobody else is. Every day I wake up, I have to own several identities. I'm the guy who created FUBU, which was for us bias of a culture, not a color, but I'm in a mixed marriage, so a lot of people said I sold out, but they didn't know why I created the brand. But yet, my stepfather came in my life at 16 years old, happened to be of the Jewish faith, and told me, be pro-black, never anti-anything else, and never become the thing you're fighting against. I'm a man who never went to college. The only thing I did is, we talked about this notable in school, is I liked the 7th grade so much I took it twice. But yet I've been called by every single president that is alive today in the United States for advice, not money. So where do I put myself? I'm a person who's all about family, but I lost my first marriage to being dedicated to work. Was I wrong for being dedicated to creating a global brand? The only thing that's in conflict is the public daemon is the one that people believe is smart, believe is this and that. No, I'm learning with you. And the private daemon is emptying the garbage and doing everything my wife says.